Okay, BYOD, bring your own device. So it's bring your own device to work, bring your own device to the organisation you're working with or engaged with. When did it come to pass? Well, it's really been a gradual and incremental move as people have bought better and better quality and performant technology themselves and become familiar with it and loaded up their own apps. So I suppose in business terms, it's about a 2010 issue has landed. And now we're a little bit more mature in understanding what that means. And bring your own device will excite entirely opposite points of view, from security in the IT landscape of providing services to employees, to the individual wanting to bring their pet technology to work and have perfect carte blanche to do whatever they want with it. So it tends to polarize opinions. Well, why is bring your own device, why is BYOD becoming more important? It's because increasingly we've got better kit than our employers can give us to use. And actually it's about productivity. If I'm using some equipment I'm comfortable with an operating language that I'm familiar with tools that I've chosen myself, that I've become familiar with, then I'm probably more likely to be more productive. So at the heart of it, it's about productivity. Equally, on the same time, we're blending our work lives and our social lives and our private lives. If you're a knowledge worker in particular, a white-collar worker, where you're able to work away from the workplace, you're working at home at weekends perhaps, you're working while you're traveling and on the move. Therefore, we feel we need access to the corporate systems while we're traveling and while we're working remotely. So on the one hand, we want familiarity of the tools on our terms, but we want access to the corporate tools to become more integrated with the way the firm works. Why are 38% of businesses in Europe not adopting it? Well, number one is we haven't reached the end of the game, so these things always take a while to mature. With every new technology or every new approach, when we get a new technology, first we do things differently, then we actually do different things. And although they sound like the same thing, they're not. They're entirely poles apart. So we've got new technology, we've all got tablets of one form or another, or smartphones, and we really want to exploit them for our own benefit individually. And of course, firms are increasingly wanting to exploit the fact that individuals have these tools. If you look at the way they're being used, increasingly firms are not compensating employees for using their own kit. So effectively they've outsourced the use of technology to their employees. So not to a third party, but in this case to their employees. On the other hand, employees are happy to have corporate put various degrees of security on their phones, but not necessarily have visibility to everything that's on there. There are some really interesting challenges between providing security for the firm and its contents and information, whilst giving people individual freedom to have on those devices whatever they want to have. And that's part of the challenge. So it's loss of control, particularly by IT and particularly by the firm, in terms of where the technology is and who owns it and who's specifying what it is. And Gartner is saying 90% in the next decade could be funded by individuals and outside of the IT department. So it is a really real worry for IT and for strategy for IT. On the other hand, we need order and control of precious data assets so that we don't end up with the sort of islands of automation, islands of information we had during the PC proliferation. So you can see the argument on both sides. But if you look at it about staff satisfaction, about productivity, about mobility, then actually there's a huge upside to considering this and seeing if it works for you. So how can we get over the challenges of bring your own device? How can we manage the changing landscape of the technology and who's using it and who's buying it? Number one, and probably most important, is to have a very clear policy. What's our policy for reimbursing individuals for acquiring IT? Are we reimbursing them for the handsets? Are we reimbursing them just for the ongoing usage? What do we do when we have a severance situation with an individual moving away? What's on that device and what needs to be decoupled and who owns it? So very clear policy about usage. Equally, a very clear mindset about why we are allowing it. So if we're hoping for more productivity, if we're hoping for more flexibility of engagement, if we're hoping for our teams to work more remotely, then actually monitor it. Look for those changes in behaviour and hopefully see those behaviours and encourage you to continue. On the other hand, it's a question of helping IT get over some of the issues of loss of control and security. Well, what are the pros about bring your own device into the culture? Well, number one, it is cultural. It is part of a culture of trusting people and demonstrating that you trust people to make wise choices about the tools they use. It's also telling people that they're different. The design people are not the same as the sales people, not the same as the engineering people. We prefer to have different devices. One maybe is an Apple a follower and somebody else maybe likes their BlackBerry. And they're perfectly reasonable tools to use, but why don't we let people increasingly use what they're comfortable with? And it's about saying that we're if you like, employee friendly. We want you to come here and engage partly on your terms in the way that you use your IT. Now, the bottom line of this is we haven't reached the end of this IT journey. You know, we're going to hit holographic technology next. We're going to have Google Glass coming soon, so that's Siri-driven, voice-driven glasses. We're interacting with the internet on our glasses with cameras on board. What do we do when they come on board? What's the issues of video privacy when you can't tell if someone's filming you? We can't tell in the meeting if someone's watching the football or looking up data to do with the meeting. So, you know, why don't we practice when we've got clunky handsets before we end up with thought-driven, mind-driven glasses or embedded lenses and contact lenses that we really have no idea who's doing what. So get used to it now. It's not the end of the journey. We're only halfway on the way.